Hello everyone, back tuning into today's final video of 2018. So it's New Year's Eve and it's the last video of the year. We are going to talk about what's happening in the stratosphere over North Pole. We'll have a look at weather for the next week to 10 days as well, and extend out a little bit beyond that with the GFS and the ECM ensembles. And we'll also have a look at the CFSV2 for the next month as well. So quite a bit to cram in for this last video of 2018. So, before I get on with that though, just say a big thank you to our latest donor. We've had a donation for Gazlovids, and our latest donor wants to stay anonymous, so that's fine. If anybody wants to donate but they'd rather not be mentioned in the videos, that's perfectly fine. Just leave a little note with your donation or give us an email or something. Let us know that's what you would like. But this person knows who they are, and I know who they are as well. So big thank you to our latest anonymous donor for Gazlovids for your very kind donation. If you'd like to become a donor for Gazlovids, then all you need to do is come to the Gazlovids PayPal page. Let me see, I'm on that page right now. So you just come here and you sign into your PayPal account, and then you just donate whatever amount of money you would like to Gazlovids, very simply and very straightforwardly. And a big thank you to all of the donors, Gazlovids. We started this in June and just been completely blown away by the response, really. So huge thank you to all of the donors for Gazlovids over the past sort of 6 or 7 months. It really is very kind what you've done for Gazlovids. You're helping us to pay for our website and keep the website online. So a big thank you to all of you for doing that. There's also Patreon, of course. So this is Gazlovids' Patreon account just here. If you would like to become a patron for Gazlovids, the idea of this is that it's like an ongoing donation. So PayPal's like a one-off donation. Patreon is like an ongoing donation. So if you'd like to become a patron of Gazlovids, you just need to come to the Gazlovids Patreon page. And again, I'm on that page right now. Sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can pledge an ongoing amount of money as a donation to Gazlovids. By doing that, you become a patron for Gazlovids. We've got 52 patrons so far. Big thank you to all of the patrons for Gazlovids. Again, I'm totally blown away by the response since we started this back in June. So yeah, just a huge thank you to all of the patrons, all of the donors, and a happy new year to all of the donors and all of the patrons for Gazlovids. It really is very kind, very special what you are doing for Gazlovids. So big thank you to all of you for doing that. So we'll get on with today's video, and we're going to start off by having a look at this chart. So I often include this on the New Year updates. So last time we had a real blizzard. Last time I had a real freezing cold New Year was this New Year, New Year's Eve, 1978. And, well, look at that. We have the jet stream going down here into sort of Iberia and southern parts of France. We've got all of this low pressure taking a southerly track. We've got high pressure blocking up here. This is a classic winter pattern. Gale force easterly winds screaming in from the Urals. Low pressure to our south running up the channel. That's providing precipitation. Of course, as that precipitation runs into that bitterly cold easterly wind coming out of Scandinavia and Russia, obviously you've got heavy snow and blizzard. So this was the last time we had a New Year blizzard. It was the New Year of 1978, 1979. There's the upper air temperatures for New Year's Eve 1978. Freezing cold air coming out of Scandinavia. And you can see it does go back into the Urals, pushing out of Russia into Scandinavia, across the North Sea into the UK. So that's the reason it was so very cold, very snowy. That's New Year's Day 1979. Look at that northeasterly winds bringing in heavy snow showers. That more persistent snow from New Year's Eve, that pushes away into the continent. But that's really cold air with that northeasterly wind for New Year's Day 1979, bringing heavy snow showers. And look at those upper air temperatures, but minus 15 Celsius isolated through the country. It's colder than that over in the east. Also, you're talking about daytime temperatures well below freezing, kind of like down to -3, -4 maxima, and heavy snow showers driven in from the east as well. Now, I know we have had a couple of cold New Years since then. So we had 1996, which was a very cold New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with snow showers in northern and eastern parts of the country. There's been a couple more, 2010, 09-10. That was a fairly cold New Year. Snow wasn't particularly widespread that New Year, but it was quite cold. But the last time we had a really severe pattern for New Year was that one, 1978. 1979 has been a very, very long time. I mean, we're talking about 40 years ago now since that happened. So presumably we must be due a really cold and snowy New Year at some point. But for the moment, the wait goes on for a New Year to match 1978, 1979. Right, so what's happening in the stratosphere there. Now, we said yesterday a big sun stratospheric warming had taken place over North Pole at 10 HPA, and we still see the evidence there. That's where we went up to on yesterday's update around -10 at 850 HPA. That was the peak of this sudden stratospheric warming, and has now dropped back that temperature closer to around -15 at 850 at 10 HPA, I should say. So slight lowering of the temperature, but still obviously much warmer than average. It's going to take quite a long time to cool this temperature down back to average. The grey line, of course, is the average this time of year. You can see just how much above average we are with that grey line. With black line, I should say, right now. So it really has been a very dramatic sun stratospheric warming that's taking place over the North Pole. Well highlighted, of course, been talking about this in the videos a lot just recently. And we're beginning to get a response at 30 HPA, a little bit lower down. That black line is moving up. It's now up to around -50 at 850 HPA from a low a few days ago of around -73, something like that. So it is moving up quite sharply. I think it's going to go up to this sort of level in the next few days, somewhere between around -40 and -13 at 30 HPA. That's lower down, closer to the troposphere level of the atmosphere, of course. So that tells us that we are seeing this warming moving in towards the troposphere, and probably will get some sort of tropospheric response, although we are waiting to see what that tropospheric response might be. Very often after these sun stratospheric warmings, 2 or 3 weeks later, you will set up a bubble of warm air, a bubble of high pressure in the troposphere. But of course we are waiting to see whether that is what's going to happen after this, because it's not guaranteed. You don't always get a tropospheric response, as we've said and explained in the videos just recently. So how the GFS is forecasting things to develop over the stratosphere in terms of these temperatures at 10 HPA. This is the very latest. We've still got very warm temperatures over the North Pole. The blue colours, the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere, displaced down into the North Atlantic, into North America, and also into Europe as well. Now we go through the opening week of January, and we see this split taking place in the polar vortex. This is the 5th of January. It looks like we get a very slight split in the polar vortex, with these two lobes of blue pushed off in towards America, and also pushed over into Europe. So in between, we've got these lighter green colours. That is a split in the polar vortex that develops on the 5th of January. I think that will actually be a technical split of the polar vortex. So quite significant to see that showing up for the 5th of January. It doesn't last very long though. As we go through to the see the polar vortex starting to get back together once again, and that's how we go into the more extended range with another warming of the stratosphere at 10 HPA taking place over Russia, though this one doesn't look like, at least on this latest GFS or anyway, doesn't look like it gets into the North Pole. Now that split of the polar vortex is fairly significant, but we have had a much larger splits of the polar vortex actually after sun stratospheric warming. So this is back in 2013. This is the 5th of January 2013. You see we've got this bright red area here over Russia and Siberia with the blue colours. Cold stratospheric temperatures over Greenland and the North Pole. We are infiltrating this warmth into the North Pole at this point. Let's run through to around the 7th of January 2013, and you see again this major warming is taking place and moving into the North Pole. Displacement of the polar vortex at this point with the blue colours down into America, down into the Atlantic, and down into Europe as well. Let's go through to around the 10th. This is from the archive at Metro Seal. So there we are on the 10th. And you can see a much more pronounced split of the polar vortex going on there by the 10th of January 2013. Look how we've infiltrated those yellow colours right in over the very top of the pole round here. That's a real true split of polar vortex. The split that we're going to get of the polar vortex around the 5th of January 2018 is a real split, but it isn't anywhere near as significant as this split was on the 10th of January 2013. And if I run you on a little bit more, let's go to around the 14th of January 2013. See, but by then the polar vortex was beginning to reconfigure itself, but all looking very patchy, and it's sort of around Newfoundland. It's kind of like in the Atlantic, so very stretched, very broken polar vortex starting to reconvene itself. But essentially we still, even then, I think on the 14th of January 2013, we still have a split of the PV. Of course, got these warm colours up over the top of the pole. So yes, I think the PV will split at its roots in the stratosphere around the 5th of January. Only very slightly, though, not lasting more than a few hours before it starts to get itself back together again. And compared to like the split that we had in January 2013 after the sudden stratospheric warming of early January 2013, I think it's a fairly minor split compared to that much more significant and substantial split of the polar vortex in 2013 that went on for several days. But let's not downplay it. It is a split of the polar vortex that we've got coming up, even if it only lasts a few hours. And of course, we've still got to wait and see what, if any, tropospheric response we get from that. This is how the ECMWF is forecasting things. So this is from the University of Berlin. This is New Year's Day, how things are looking on New Year's Day. We've got those orange colours up over the pole with the black cross as well. There it is, up over top of the North Pole on New Year's Day. That's the 5th of January, and again you see that we are hinting at a split. We've got the two splits of the polar vortex at its roots. We've got the two areas of blue, one over North America, one over Europe, and then in between we've got a lighter shading of blue looking like that. So again, it does imply a split, at least briefly, of the polar vortex at its roots around the 5th of January. But again, if we was looking at this in 2013, we would undoubtedly have seen these sort of beige and orange colours infiltrating this area with a much more pronounced split of PV at that point. But nevertheless, a slight split of the polar vortex looks like it's going to take place on the 5th of January. And then that's how things look right at the very end. Day 10, which is the 9th of January, shows that by then, of course, the polar vortex is beginning to reconvene itself around here with these blue colours, so getting itself back together again. Another warming of the stratosphere taking place over Russia and over the North Pole itself. We've just started to cool down a little bit because we can't maintain those very high temperature levels that we have had over the past few days at 10 HPA. Go a little bit lower down to 30 HPA or even 20 HPA, not sure why that's showing up, so let's get rid of that and go down to 30 HPA, and that's how things are looking on the 6th of January. Again, pretty warm temperatures at 30 HPA. We're going up to kind of like minus 45 degrees, which is going to be a pretty significant rise on that JMA chart that we started off with. Again, does hint a little bit of a split of polar vortex. There's lighter colours going through there with darker colours on either side over there and also over there as well. There's a black cross, of course, over the North Pole itself. And as we go through to the 9th of January, you can see again the temperatures beginning to lower, can't maintain those high temperature levels all that long at 30 HPA. But definitely looks like we are infiltrating this warmth down to 30 HPA, closer to the troposphere. And again, it will be a case after that of waiting to see just what kind of tropospheric response, if any, we get to this significant warming of the stratosphere. This is how the winds, solar winds and fluxes are looking. So we went into a reverse of the solar winds at 1 HPA a few days ago. That's lifted back up towards neutral right now. It looks like it's going to trend up into positive territory, but only very weakly positive territory in the next 10 days, way below where it was before this sudden stratospheric warming started, where we had strong solar winds at 1 HPA. Going lower now to 30 HPA, the reversal of the solar wind is imminent at 10 HPA. There it is. That's where we are right now. The blue line, of course, is depicting the solar wind at 10 HPA through this season. You can see that any time now, it's either going to be today, tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, but any time now, we're going to go into reversal, have a reversal of the solar winds at 10 HPA. Doesn't look like the solar winds will reverse at 30 HPA. So it doesn't look like we're yet going to get a reversal of the solar winds at 30 HPA, but we are going to get reversal of the solar winds imminently at 10 HPA. So it's all still on course, just going to be a case of waiting to see what the effects are from these very dramatic developments in the stratosphere. So this is how the GFS ensembles are looking. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. We're at Manchester for this final video update of 2018, and we're starting off very, very mild with the upper air temperatures at the moment. Another really mild day across the country today, but those temperatures are going to be lowering in the days ahead. It's going to go quite a lot colder through the middle and second half of this week. I mean, into weekend, it's quite interesting. It's next weekend. The upper air temperatures do lift up at the end of this week and into the weekend. Upper air temperatures lift up, but down on the surface, I think it will still be cold, actually, for most of us, even through the weekend. There will still be a lot of frost and potentially some quite nasty, dense fog patches around. Now, beyond that, we go from the first week into second week of January, so that's the 8th of January just there, and this is going into the second week of January. What we see happening is a real split is taking place within the GFS ensembles then. We have several ensemble members that are looking very mild. They're up at this sort of level. We have several ensemble members, though, that are cold, even a few that are really going into the freezer, going between -10 and -15 at 850 HPA. These are like ensemble members that are going into the freezer, these ones down here. Now, they are outliers, but there's a few of them that really are going very, very cold indeed through this second week of January. So a real split is in evidence now in the GFS ensembles. We have some very mild ensemble members, we have some freezer ensemble members, and we have a lot of ensemble members that are in between. So the second week of January, that has to be the focus on what's going to happen. I suspect it's all down to this sudden stratospheric warming. Will it produce blocking? If it does produce blocking, will the high pressure that's going to give us a mainly dry but cold and frosty start to January, will that go north and join up with the blocking? That's going to be the question through early January, or second week of January, and that's what's causing that split in the GFS ensembles. Now, before we get to that, as I say, we've got some pretty cold and frosty weather coming up. So these are the temperature, this is the temperature anomaly from the 31st of December to the 8th of January, coming out slightly below average for England and Wales. Scotland coming out a little bit milder than average. France, again, comes out a little bit colder than average there. A mild week coming up for Scandinavia, though, and for much of northeastern Europe, temperature anomalies are above average, although bear in mind it will still be pretty cold because that's a long way north. But yeah, it looks like for England and Wales anyway, it's going to be a fairly chilly week coming up. There will be some quite notable frost from around Wednesday onwards. Precipitation anomalies much drier than average for the UK, for Ireland, for France, for Spain, for Portugal, all parts of Western Europe under high pressure, and coming out very significantly drier than average from New Year's Eve to the 8th of January. That's how the GFS is looking for Thursday, with high pressure centred over the top of the country. As I say, we're going to be pretty cold under that area of high pressure. So we've got the high pressure sitting over the country. There'll be frost by night and in the mornings, and could be some dense fog patches around as well. And that is quite a change on what we've had over the past few days. So although we're not talking about anything spectacularly cold, it will be a bit of a shock to the system, I think, from around Wednesday onwards, given how very mild it's been, particularly if it was to have any freezing fog lingering all day, then it could be notably cold, actually, with temperatures struggling to get much above freezing. That high pressure sticks around the country into next weekend, so no real change, or into the coming weekend, no change. High pressure continues to dominate the weather. Through into the second week of January, this particular GFS one starts to slip its high pressure southwards, and so begin to move milder air around the top of it from the Atlantic Ocean. That's how you look at day 10. We've got the high pressure sitting just to our west-southwest. Milder air is moving around the top of this area of high pressure. No sign of any northern blocking, although we are pulling some very cold air down into much of central and northern Europe. Real cold air with winter biting in there, but no real northern blocking signal from that southern stratospheric warming up to this point. As we go to the extended range of the 6 o'clock run of the GFS, it all goes rather flat, with westerlies continuing. So definitely up to the 16th of January, which is as far as we can go with the GFS at the moment. No signs of northern blocking appearing up to the middle of January on that GFS run. However, we know from the ensembles that there are several options on the table, and some of them are undoubtedly within the GFS ensembles producing substantial northern blocking. We know that, given how cold some of those GFS ensemble members are getting. We'll probably have to do an ensembles watch in the next day or so. There won't be one today, but we may do one tomorrow or shortly afterwards to go through the GFS ensembles and see what options are on the table. This is how the ECMWF is looking. Again, the high pressure is centred over top of the country on Thursday. It's still there on Friday and into the weekend. High pressure continues to dominate the weather. So dry, fine, but frosty, cold conditions away from the far north and northwest of Scotland anyway, where we've got a little bit more of a southwesterly flow. Into the second week of January, this ECM run starts to slip its high pressure a little bit further southwards, so slightly milder air is coming around the top into Scotland and Northern Ireland. Anyway, under England, for England and Wales, we're still under that high pressure, so even then it's probably still pretty dry but cold and frosty. That's how we look at day 10. By that point, the high pressure is just to our south-southwest, centred around northern parts of France. We've got these milder winds moving around the top of the high pressure from the Atlantic into northern and western parts of the country. Again, there's no particular sign of high pressure blocking things out within our side of the North Pole anyway. No sign of any particular block of high pressure setting up to the 10th of January from that sudden stratospheric warming that has occurred. These are the options that are on the table within the ECM ensembles at day 10, which of course is the 10th of January. So we've got 14 ensemble members. These are the postage stamps via the Icelandic Met Office. We've got 14 ensemble members that have low pressure sitting to the east of the UK and high pressure sitting out to the west and the northwest. And they are reaching up towards Greenland as well. So these are quite cold ensemble members. These type of winds coming in from the north on the 10th of January, and they'd be pretty cold ensemble members indeed. Then we've got 13 ensemble members, which does include the control run of the ECMWF that has high pressure centred like over and to the north of the UK. So these ones, again, pretty cold. They're dry, but they're cold and frosty, and a little bit of an east-northeasterly flow probably coming around that ridge of high pressure for us as well. Then we've got another 13, so there's a real split at day 10 with the placement of this high pressure. We've got another 13, which includes the operational run we're just looking at, that has a high pressure down to the south and southwest of us, and so they're milder, as we explained when we just looked at the E70F. These are milder options as they're bringing the winds up from the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean like that. And then we've got a further 11 that have a high pressure again to the northwest of the country. Low pressure is kind of like to our east, and we'd be bringing round northeasterly or northerly winds around the side of that high pressure with those. So they're a colder option once again. So actually most of the majority of the ECM ensembles are looking quite cold really at day 10. We have got the 13, including the operational run, that's milder, but other than that, most of the other ECM ensemble members are kind of like quite cold, but differing on the placement of that area of high pressure. So it's either frosty and cold, or potentially northerly, with Arctic air, maybe snow showers for some parts of the country, with these 14 just here. Going to 2 weeks out, which is the 15th of January, these are the options that are going to be on the table then. At 360 hours. So we've got 12 ensemble members that are intensifying this low pressure to the northeast. That's a real trough of low pressure over Scandinavia. A mid-Atlantic ridge, so these are probably quite cold again, these ensemble members bringing in the winds from a northwesterly direction. No true northern blocking though, but I think they would be pretty cold ensemble members that we have there. We've got 11 that have high pressure down to southwest, again low pressures to the east, so they're pretty chilly, but they've got more of an Atlantic influence, so probably close to average temperatures with those ones. We've got 10 with high pressure through the country and ridging to our north as well, so they're dry, frosty, cold ensemble members. We've got 10 that are unsettled. They've got low pressure out to west, so they're bringing in these westerly, southwesterly winds, so they're mild and unsettled. And then we've got 8 with, again, a strengthened mid-Atlantic ridge through here, and then low pressure over and to the east of the UK. It's a big trough. They're probably quite cold, bringing the wind in from a northeasterly direction. So the placement of this area of high pressure as we go further into January, very, very uncertain indeed. But there isn't a great deal of evidence of true northern blocking. I have to say that if we're going to be seeing true northern blocking, we would see red colours appearing in that sort of area. And there's no real sign of that on our side of the pole up to the middle of January with these ECM ensembles. But we know from the GFS ensembles there must be the possibility of northern blocking within those GFS ensembles, because we're seeing some ensemble members within the GFS suite that's going down to between -10 and -15 at 850 HPA, which is a very, very cold upper air temperature indeed. So they must be produced either by Scandinavia or more likely by Greenland highs. So it's going to be a case of waiting to see, I think, over the next few days. It's inconclusive at the moment, but we will have to wait and see over the first week or two of January just what, if any, response in the troposphere we get to these developments in the stratosphere. Finally, we'll just have a look at the CFS V2 for the next month before we wrap things up for 2018. So these are the 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 31st of December, today, New Year's Eve, through to the 6th of January. And the coming week will have high pressure centred over the UK and much of Western Europe indeed, the jet stream, something like that. So dry and fine conditions for the week ahead, and there will be frost and fog mixed in with that as well. Then we go through to week 2, which is the 7th to the 13th of January, with below average heights, low pressure up to the north. We've got above average heights down to our southwest. We're bringing in this westerly flow like that, so we're a little bit more unsettled actually, and quite mild, although we have got a blocking signal up to the north. There's some high pressure blocking things out over the top of the North Pole, interestingly, but not strong enough to do anything particularly cold for us at this point. We look westerly and a little bit more unsettled there through the second week of January. That takes us through to the third week of January. It's the 14th to the 20th. At this point, we've got below average heights to our east, northeast, and also in the Atlantic there. The high pressure, the above average heights around Greenland is strengthening. So these ones could be a little bit colder actually. This could be a little bit colder, pulling wind in to the north or northwest, with a bit of a blocking signal beginning to appear around Greenland as we move this low pressure, this trough, over towards the northern, northeastern parts of Europe. So that potentially looks like a little bit of a change, a pattern change taking place around the middle of January, possibly going to something more blocked and colder then. And then we finish up like this in week 4, which is the 21st through to 27th of January. And this could be genuinely wintry. So we've got high pressure then across Greenland, the North Atlantic, and going up to Greenland, trough of low pressure across much of northern Europe. The winds would be pulled into the north or the northeast. That looks genuinely wintry there as we go into the second half of January. Winter could well be biting in at that point via the block of high pressure that we see over Greenland. We looked at Surface V2 yesterday, and it was a bit odd because it had a trough of low pressure centred around the Baltic Sea, but with no corresponding block to push it there. This is much more like what you'd expect to see if you've got low pressure centred around here across each part of Scandinavia and into the Baltic. Something must be pushing that over to there, and so what he's doing that is an area of high pressure. This looks much more like what I was expecting to see yesterday, with the wind pulling into a northerly direction potentially there in week 4. So temperature anomalies in the week ahead, they're looking milder than average in most parts of the country, though England and Wales coming out actually a little bit on the cool side of that area of high pressure. Then all places are milder than average as the wind goes westerly in week 2. It's the 7th to the 13th of January, above average temperatures then. And then week 3 looks like that. Still hinting at being a little bit above average, but less so than week 2. So beginning to cool down as the pattern starts to change. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 21st, 27th of January. This is when we have the high pressure centred over Greenland. And look at that, temperature anomalies are going below average. Many parts of the UK, central parts of Europe also going a little bit colder than average. At the same time, much of northern and eastern America and up to north eastern parts of Canada also going colder than average through there. So a real change takes place in the second half of January. Quite significant developments on today's CFS run, and possibly down to the sudden stratospheric warming. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for New Year's Eve. So I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for your support through the year at Gaz Weather. It has been a very successful year indeed. So we see that the NAO forecast that we released earlier on in the year went to 31,000 video views. We released this on the 1st of January, so that's the most watched, most successful video that we've ever produced at Gaz Weather Vids. We see that the video is standing at the moment on 31,567 video views, so a huge number there for the winter 2018-19 NAO forecast that we released on the first day of July. The YouTube channel has continued to grow very strongly as well, so we currently have 4,405 subscribers. Big thank you to all of our YouTube subscribers. Hello and Happy New Year to you. And we're closing in very quickly on nearly 3,000 video views. We are currently standing at 3 million video views, I should say. We are currently at 2,934,686 video views. So very soon, in the next month or two, I would have thought we will be at 3 million video views. I assume we'll get the subscriber count up to 5,000 within the next month or two as well, hopefully. So things really taking off at YouTube, and also really taking off at Gaz Weather Vids as well. So I just want to do this and show you our Google Analytics, which I unfortunately shut down. So I'm going to take you through to our Google Analytics page if I can, and get that. It runs very slowly at Google Analytics, unfortunately. So we want to go to Audience and Overview, which takes us through to this page, and then I've got to change the dates over, so we go to the 1st of January just there, and then back to New Year's Eve just there, and click apply. So these are our stats for the year from Google Analytics at Gazweb's website, and we have reached a very big number in terms of page views. For the first time ever, we've gone over 2 million page views this year for Gazweb. It's standing at 2,139,886. 100. So huge, over 2 million page views at Gazweb, which includes nearly 400,000 users, and again nearly 400,000 new users as well. So all of the stats are looking very, very significant, very substantial growth has taken place at Gazweb during 2018, both at website and at YouTube as well. And a big thank you to all of you for your support through the year, for keep coming back to the YouTube channel, for subscribing, for liking, for sharing, for coming to the website, commenting on the website as well, and on the videos at YouTube. And of course, for your donations through PayPal and Patreon. And just generally the very kind support that you've given us again for 2018. So we'll be back, of course, in the new year, next year, just 24 hours away. And that's pretty much it, though, for 2018. So big thank you to all of you for watching through the year. Have a great New Year's Eve, whatever you're going to be doing. Have a great time. And that's it. I'll see you next year. Bye for now.